All right, everybody, welcome back to the Purple Friday Show, episode 238. We're back after a hiatus. Super Bowls happen, everything, um, and the weather is starting to turn. It's going to be in the mid 60s next week, so I'm
Hmm.
excited about that. It's daylight,
Yeah.
end of daylight savings time. I can't remember which one this one is. I know it's spring forward, but I don't remember if it ends or begins. I don't remember which one it
It's,
is. But
it's it's
anyway,
the good one. We get
yeah,
we get
spring
more we get more
forward.
light.
It's it won't be pitch black at 5 p.m. anymore. And the weather's gonna starting to turn around. It's gonna be the mid 60s next week. So I did grill last Saturday. So for the first time in 2025, I did grill. So that was nice. Smoked some chicken thighs and stuff. Made some burgers. So
We
Hey,
saw.
thick thighs
yeah,
saves lives.
always, always. But anyway, as even though the off season is usually never ending for the NFL, it's definitely been never ending for the Ravens. As we see, what's going on with Justin Tucker and the situation there. Here we are. This all this stuff went what I think it started. The news started coming around Super Bowl time. I think around that time, and
Yeah.
then since then, there's just been more people have come out. More there were. I mean, the venues this man has been to and the shenanigans he's been up to. He went on, I think, Outkick like last week and tried to defend his case. For people that don't watch, Outkick is a very, seems like a very like out there sports show on the other realm of things, and he kind of went on there to kind of plead his case. He's pleaded his innocence. Obviously, nothing yet. There's no criminal charges or anything right now, but as far as the sleeves factor, is definitely high up there. Definitely high up there for Justin Tucker.
Mhm.
We all knew something had to be up. During the season, this man was missing 30-yard field goals, missing extra points. Like it was something had to be up. And I guess like now that we know what we know, and I think Travis, you said like this is I didn't even know, but this has been going on for years. This didn't just happen. This has been going on for a while. And with the Ray Rice stuff when that happened and how the Ravens moved so quickly to get rid of Ray Rice and just dismiss him from the team, and now he's back in the fold. Kind of, he's hanging around the team a little bit more, but completely dismissing him. But it seems like for Justin Tucker, they're literally letting this play out. The NFL has said that they're investigating the situation. A lot of people in the media, especially local media, have already said that they're just done with it. Like, just cut him. I don't know why you're taking so long to get rid of him. Why are you letting this man hang around? Especially you're coming up on free agency now and the draft. What do you think the thinking is from the Ravens and Harbaugh of why they've been so mum on this Justin Tucker stuff? Why they've been so? It seems like they're just kind of protecting him.
Well, I mean, maybe they are. I mean, I don't know if it's a protecting them thing. I mean, obviously, we should be probably the last organization to not get this right, seeing as though what the history has been with you already spoke of with Ray Rice and how that whole situation was handled. But the organization is still it's a small organization. I think they've sat back and they've saw how some of these other scenarios have played out, and I think they're just doing the same. I mean, does it look good? No, it looks the optics of this whole situation, this whole ordeal looks horrible, and it always looks bad. But if you're looking at whatever the bylaws are and whatever just the expectations from the organizations, I mean, they're letting the NFL handle it essentially. And had this been any other player, had this been I don't know, someone that doesn't start or someone that's not as as of value to our organization, obviously they probably would have been gone. In this case, not saying that Tucker has the same value that he once had in his organization, but at the same time, he's kind of dedicated his um, his entire career has been kind of dedicated to the organization, and it's kind of been a good relationship up until this point. So I think they're just kind of like shooting him some bail on the strength of like you're a legend here, and we're just we'll give you the right to remain here until the NFL tells us that you were indeed wilding, and until they can get a confirmation of that, uh, it ain't really nothing to say. So, um, from what I heard from the combine and EDC chiming in, it sounds like, they're doing their part as far as just collecting information. It seems like that's the same thing that the NFL is doing. Obviously, they're probably performing a more vigorous investigation and reaching out to who they need to reach out to. But, you know, do the organization look crazy? Nah, I mean, it's a hit just because of the circumstances. But until we have like something other than hearsay to go off of, I don't think they're like in a complete wrong for not making any um advanced moves to move on from them, even though that might have been in question with or without the situation anyway after the season. Who knows, just based on how things panned out. So, more to be seen. I don't really, to be honest, I don't see any too many other organizations handling it, differently. I think it's just kind of a highlight on it just because of what happened with Ray Rice and what the past was. But this is, a little bit different. We don't have video footage of anything. Not saying that's a good thing that we need video footage to hold people accountable. But as far as the speed of the investigation and the progressing of making moves and things like that, I will say that if the season off season roll comes and goes, and then we're getting on to like training camp and stuff like that, the Ravens will probably be making a decision well before then, because at that point they have to decide if they're going to move on or not, and they're not going to want this lingering into a new season. So whether the NFL comes to a conclusion sooner or later, I think the time clock is, it is ticking, and at some point they're going to have to decide something, and it might be before the draft. I don't know, but I don't think they're wrong in just not saying anything. It really ain't nothing to say until we know for sure what's going on.
Yeah, I think with all the things that have been going on, I think when you look at Deshaun Watson, when you think about the Ray Rice incident, I think it's very important that we get this right. And to be honest, outside of locally in the Baltimore Banner, there hasn't been a lot of criticism of how the Ravens are handling it. I haven't seen it. I think it's been like, you have some people that are in wait and see mode. You have some people that are like, hurry up, let's get this done. But I think they're doing it the right way by having the NFL investigate it. And I say that for a variety of reasons. Resources, the NFL probably has better investigators than the Ravens would, get locally. I think having the NFL be involved shows a cooperation on the Ravens end and keeps them from having any implications legally when it comes to releasing him, if they may, or any issues with the NFL for anything that may come out. So I think they're doing the right thing by getting the NFL involved. Now, I think the other part you got to factor is my man got about $8 million in dead cap if we let him go. So I think having the NFL investigate, make the determination like, hey, boy was on some nasty time. If they do that, I'm pretty sure there's a clause in his contract where they can get out of this contract without the salary cap hit. So not acting rash and really just letting the NFL work. You can work with the NFL on how to make this work without a bunch of penalty to the salary cap. So I think they're going about it the right way. I think Corey makes a good point. It's an easier decision, and I think they're probably internally going to release him. They're going to release him, but I think they're trying to go about it the right way legally and financially to make sure the organization doesn't take a hit.
Yeah, because I think with the Ray Rice situation, they initially was a 2 or 3 game suspension, and then the video came out, and the Ravens let him go immediately. Then Ray Rice ended up suing the team later for like back pay. I think he ended up winning, getting at least some of his money back. So yeah, I think you guys are right in the situation where the Ravens they've learned from their mistakes in the past. Like, look, the NFL comes back with their. I'm pretty sure they can't give the final say. They're going to give their what they found, and they're going to we recommend that seemed like he violated personal conduct policy for the team, and let him go. Wipe your hand with it. And now, if they decide, it's up to you. And I don't know. Like, it's one of those situations where Justin Tucker is a liked person in this town, but it seems like it's very 50-50 from what I've been hearing, like in the radio. Like, some people want him gone, other people these aren't Boy Scouts. right?
Yeah.
These aren't Boy Scouts. And Deshaun Watson, for everything that he did, still allowed to play football. He's still allowed to play football in Cleveland with everything that happened. Now the brunt of especially how the fans will feel about Justin Tucker, and jersey sales drop, and they boom every time it goes on the field and stuff like that. But you kick a couple 60-yard game winners and stuff like that. Maybe your leg gets back, and all of a sudden you're back in everybody's good graces. Right? It's kind of how sports work. It's a weird business, but I'm pretty sure the Ravens, based on the performance that Tucker had last year and how just spotty he was mentally, and knowing, going forward, if he were to remain on the team, the mental, stuff that he would deal with from fans, I'm pretty sure on a regular basis, if he was still here, could probably mess with him on the field as well. And the Ravens to take that into account. Like, is it just if the I'm pretty sure the Ravens are hoping the NFL just gives them enough ammo, right? Enough ammo to be legally tight in court that, like, if we were to release him, he can't just come back and sue us for for funds or whatever like that. So
yeah, and even so, they can release him off the fact that he's 36, and he had poor performance. So I think, like, regardless, there's like a lot of leverage to let him go. Like, I don't think you see Justin Tucker on this roster no matter what. I think with all this going on, I think he's losing the fan base because Baltimore, like, they can be unforgiving, like Philly, not to that level, but they can be unforgiving and turn on you real quick. Mark Andrews knows that for a fact, but I think I think they're just going to wait it out to cover their PR bases, cover themselves, try to find that clause in the contract. But I doubt he's playing on this team next year.
Yeah. I think whatever happens, the Ravens are finding a kicker in the draft this year. So other than that, for the Ravens, also Ben Cleveland got busted for a DUI. So there you go with Ben Cleveland. He's up out of here.
Yeah,
because a wrap for him.
Good as gone.
Yeah. We didn't talk about the Super Bowl. Obviously, we looked the Eagles win the Super Bowl, big win, dominating win. It was mostly by the young guys, pretty much. Like that Eagles defense was just stifling. Zach Bond, got an interception in that game. Cooper DeJean, did his thing in that game. Pat Mahomes throws 2 picks. Looks probably one of his worst playoff performances ever. We saw all those shows the next day, getting on Pat Mahomes and how badly he played in the Super Bowl. And, we saw with Travis Kelce, I think he had like 3 drops in that game. They just looked outmatched by the Eagles. Whatever the game plan was going into that game, they executed it to a T. They said, they think they said the Eagles didn't even blitz, not one time in that game. Their front four did the work. They didn't need to do anything else. And that allowed Bond and DeJean and everybody else to play middle of the field, and pretty much didn't allow Kelce to do much of anything. And so they basically were saying, I think, at the end of the game, they made sure that Pat Mahomes, as far as rate of difficulty for throws, that's the throw he had to make every single play if he was passing the football. Everything had to be outside, towards the numbers, on the sideline. Most of those plays weren't even converted. So, look, hats off to Nick Sirianni, and I'm happy for Jalen Hurts, especially for the type of quarterback that he is, saying that, a quarterback like him couldn't win a Super Bowl, and he did. Saquon having a career year the way he had, or the year he had, and guys that got paid, obviously, like in the last 7 days. So, I'm just glad. I'm glad the Chiefs lost. I'm glad the Chiefs lost. But also, getting happy for Jalen Hurts and happy for Saquon getting over the hump now.
You're getting over the hump. That's an understatement. Like the way they dominated that game. I think I was definitely rooting for we had no dog in the fight, but I was definitely rooting for the Eagles just because Patrick Mahomes. Like, who wants to see that again? But I will tell you this one thing. Right after that game concluded, I'm sure every general manager in the league changed their positions on defensive line and whatever they had projected to go in these drafts, because if that game taught you anything, it doesn't matter who you got at QB. If your offensive line is getting dominated like that, they ain't got no shot. And I think that's something that gets lost sometimes when you're game planning is pressure. I mean, I know we talk about it a lot of times with the Ravens and our when we get pressure or lack thereof when we're not getting pressure and the difference of the outcomes of those games that we've had. But that's a huge detail. Like defensive line was already a valuable thing here in Baltimore. At least theoretically, at least ideally. Um, so sometimes it's confusing when we don't make certain moves or when there's opportunities to get guys and we choose not to get guys. But this game, it was just the way it was just lopsided at the line of scrimmage. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. And the fact that Patrick Mahomes was getting just no opportunity to throw the ball, and when he did, it was just like he didn't have the receivers that could do anything. I mean, I think Hopkins dropped that potential. Actually, that might have been the game before that. I might be thinking about the Buffalo game. No, that was the Super Bowl when he dropped that pass. Marquise Hollywood Brown. It looked like adding him he gave that receiving group like a lot of juice. Like it seemed like they was, he was making plays. He was looking like a number one receiver almost over there, but it wasn't enough for this game. I mean, they were just getting hats on Patrick Mahomes all game. He was under duress. He couldn't do nothing. He couldn't run away. He couldn't get out the pocket. That offensive line just got completely destroyed. And if you don't have a defensive lineman somewhere in your first couple draft picks this year, then you probably be doing yourself a disservice. So it's a good game to watch. I mean, if you're an Eagles fan, I mean that game didn't look like the Chiefs were going to win it from the opening drive. So it's going to be scary though, because this Eagles team, it doesn't look like they have too much turnover. I mean, they just gave Saquon Barkley that contract extension that he much deserved. I mean, even the threat of his run in that game proved to be valuable. Jalen Hurts was kind of able to pick those guys apart in the secondary because they were worried about the run, and they did pretty much a solid job against the run. But that was the problem. They needed to also contend with Jalen Hurts, and it seems like a good defensive game plan. Going into the game, whatever happens, make Jalen Hurts beat us and not Saquon. It didn't matter. That's how valuable Saquon Barkley is. He doesn't even have to run 400 yards, but the fact that y'all putting that many hats, up against him, then it's going to open up the pass game. So that's exactly what happened. But yeah, good game for the Eagles. Good defensive game plan. Good offensive game plan. Just complete utter domination. Now it looks like the Chiefs are kind of just winging it. They're trying to figure it out. I think they let go one of their best offensive linemen. There's probably going to be some other moves coming up. But, it's still the beginning of the offseason, and you never know. They always end up with somebody they don't deserve. I think them and the Eagles always end up with players that they just don't deserve. Like, it's just not fair. Like, y'all are already good. Like, why did he let you go to this team? But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. That game was that wasn't a good Super Bowl game. I think it was pretty dominant by the Eagles. I'm not going to touch on a whole bunch of points because I think y'all put a lot of energy into that. I'll say this: Xavier Worthy's a star in the making. The Chiefs' offensive line is awful. It's going to get worse. The Ravens better back up the Brinks truck for Ronnie, but we'll get to that. And yeah, like you said, Trey, the Eagles look scary. As long as their egos don't self-implode next year, they'll definitely be a contender. But hey, you love to see the Chiefs lose. You love to see them lose in that fashion. And down with Mahomes.
Yeah, like you said, and Zach Bond, I think they just gave him some money too. I think he went into the season on like a $3 million deal, and they gave him like a 3-year, $40 million deal, something like that. So everybody got paid. And now because of what the Eagles are doing and what we've seen in the offseason, they got rid of Slade. They've been restructuring some deals and things like that. It really does feel like they're going to try to make a run after Myles Garrett, the edge rusher for the Eagles. It really does feel like that's like a Howie Roseman move right now. Like the add Myles Garrett to that already dominant defensive line would just be unfair. It would be unfair. But if they can they can pull it off. Sure. Why not? No one else is like it's weird how it seems like Howie Roseman right now is playing a different game than everybody other GMs are. Right. It feels like what he's doing over there. I think I just looked at the over the cap for them. They were like at $21 million right now with the moves, the money they make restructuring, and the Ravens are still around $10 million as far as cap space because they haven't really restructured any money. Like Roquan could be restructured at this point. Maybe you give more money up front to Lamar to offset some of that cap number hit. Because I think his cap hit is like $43 million this year for Baltimore. So, with the less than 5 days away from free agency starting, and it just feels like other teams are preparing themselves for it, and the Ravens are kind of just, I don't know. Ravens always seem to be late to the party in these kind of situations. But on the AFC North side still, though, T. Higgins gets tagged. I'll say this right now. I hate the franchise tag. I cannot stand it. It's probably one of the worst things for players, especially young players. It's one of the worst. Jamar Chase, when I think he posted something on social media, basically wasn't approving of that. And then obviously that basically told Trey Hendrickson, you're not paying me, so I want out. So he's requested a trade. So now you're potentially now have Trey Henderson on his way out and Myles Garrett on his way out of the AFC North, leaving just kind of TJ Watt being the premier edge rusher, for the AFC North. Good for the Ravens, to deal with them anymore in the AFC North. But it also sucks because it's like, they're not trading in the division. They're not giving them to trade them to the Ravens, no matter what the package is. I don't think there's any way they trade them to the Ravens. So with that being said, going into Ravens free agency, obviously I think the combine is still happening? Is the combine still going on? Is it over? Is it over? Okay. So we saw like the 40 times and all that other stuff, and guys making spectacular plays or whatever, and they get to interview players. And I think that's mostly for teams that do a good job with scouting during the year. I feel like the combine is more for just to interview players, just to get to know them personally and their character and all that other stuff, for the team. But going into free agency with knowing what the Ravens need, when you look at the Ravens major free agents right now. So of course we got Ronnie Stanley at left tackle. Patrick McCurry right now, he's also a free agent. Pat Ricard is a free agent. Malik Harrison is a free agent. And then Brandon Stevens is also a free agent. And Ardarius Washington is a restricted free agent. So they got to put some kind of tender on him, which I think they'll be able to hold on to him. I think they'll be able to hold on to Ardarius Washington. But I think, Travis, you already said Ronnie Stanley probably needs to stay here. Like I think during the season we were maybe like we can do without him, maybe go find somebody else. But he did play really. He was really strong towards the end of the season. He played really well. Looked like he was finally healthy. And look, I know he's only going on the other side of 30 now at this point. But with where the Ravens are picking in the draft at 27, and it looks like a lot of the mock drafts, a lot of those offensive tackles are going to be gone by the 17th or 18th pick at this point. And looking at the free agent market right now for left tackles, it'd be cheaper just to keep Ronnie at this point. I don't think they can really we got to go with the youth movement on the offensive line. I think keeping that cohesion there, you got Ronnie Stanley. I forgot who left. Voorhees was going to be the left guard going into this season, I'm pretty sure, coming up, or right guard. You still got Linderbaum, and you got Rosengart at right tackle. So pretty solid. I don't think the Ravens would need to go into free agency, end the draft, trying to find a left tackle, trying to find an edge rusher, trying to find more defensive help. Like I think they try to. Sometimes the best thing you can do with free agency is just keep the guys that you have, the best players that you got. Sometimes it's the best thing you can do for the Ravens. And all I've been hearing the Chiefs are in on Ronnie Stanley. The Raiders are in on Ronnie Stanley. Like I don't know if there's some smoke screens and his agent just trying to force the Ravens to make a deal happen. But with how he played last season, especially with the Chiefs and their offensive line issues, I'm pretty sure that if he hits free agency, he won't be on the list too long.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think at this point we have to do whatever we can do, whatever we got to do to keep him, because not even just not having left tackles out there, but I mean, the rest of those names in the offensive line doesn't really give me a whole lot of security either. So it's like you get rid of your best offensive lineman and we're kind of in a worse boat than we were in the last couple of years. So, you know, he did give us some promise towards the end of the season, especially, you know, when he got all the way back 100% healthy. He looked like Ronnie Stanley should look. So to me, I think you continue on that momentum and figure out a way to keep him. As far as the demand for Ronnie Stanley heating up, I mean, they're gonna have to figure that out to see, just to make sure they can, outbid whoever's out there trying to snatch him. But I don't really see another option. Like you said, at our draft position that we're at, it just doesn't seem like, the best course of action when even the rest of your offensive line, you know, although decent, it doesn't really, you still have work to do on the line, period, is what I'm saying, just to shore it up. And getting rid of your best piece isn't going to help that case, at least not in the draft. So I think we do whatever you do to sign him and figure it out. I mean, he gave his promise at the end of the year. As long as he stays healthy, he's already shown what he can do. It's just a matter of, I think everybody just still have a sore taste based on how, that year he got injured and then coming back, and then, then the rotation and having him going back in and not being fully healthy. I think that's, people still remember that. But, if you can just be a little bit more, a little more recent and just seeing how he performed to close out that year for us, I think that's more of who Ronnie Stanley really is. So I don't think we can afford to lose him, honestly.
Yeah, you can't lose him because what else is out there? I mean, look, these are the left tackle free agents, right? And we have a low first-round draft pick. You got Ken Robinson, inconsistent. Tyron Smith, he's like 40. Cornelius Lucas, he's like 40. Kelvin Beachum, 40. If I keep going, there's like nobody that is like, I don't want to say middle age because that's not the proper term, but there's nobody that's like in their prime, and there's no great young talent at the left tackle position in free agency. So regardless of how you feel about like the finances, it's a necessity you bring this man back in order for us to keep, being a contender. You look at the Eagles game versus the Chiefs. Pass protection is a must for your quarterback to be able to make plays. Even who people deem as the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now can't make things happen without protection. So there's a premium. The salary cap's increase. We can do some restructures, but the number one priority this offseason, more than anything, is bringing back Ronnie Stanley. Simple as that. No other option.
No, yeah, I think it's the way he played last year. I also think it would help adding another veteran, maybe another guard or something to that lineup. And we'll get into the draft in a little bit, but I know, Travis, you were saying, especially with the amount of picks that we have and the kind of way the draft is going to shake out towards the middle rounds, it would probably benefit the Ravens to get defensive line help and offensive line. Just, we saw how thin they were last season, right? It was literally Makari, and that was kind of it. That was the only guy we could really rely on if anybody got hurt. Luckily, they were okay. But I don't think the Ravens can go into next season thinking that they'll just be fine. Makari is a free agent. We'll see if they bring him back, at a decent price or whatever. But looking at, I think for Ronnie Stanley, he's looking at about $20 million right now a year on the open market. Do you guys think that what the Ravens are probably ended up doing is what they're going to do is let Ronnie hit the market, see what he's worth, and then kind of come back and offer money? Or do you think we'll get something done before, was it Tuesday?
They better get something done. I think as soon as he hits the market, somebody's going to be in the market for him. I mean,
yeah.
I think he's just too valuable of a piece for our offensive line and our offense in general, just moving forward. That this ain't one of those. Like, this ain't one of those. We let Lamar go around. The opinions of a left tackle are uniform across the league.
Yeah.
Like, guys, you need that as a cornerstone of your offense, essentially, outside of the quarterback position. Every offense needs that to go, and that's a risk that if I'm EDC, I wouldn't be willing to take.
Yeah, you can't risk it. You can't risk it at all. We saw Saquon last year. They let him go see what his number is. He got a number, but he didn't come back with that number. He signed.
Right.
You can't afford that at all.
Yeah. So, and like you said, Trey, with the Eagles and how they built their team, offensive line and defensive line, it's an old saying in football, but that's how you win. You win championships by building from the trenches. That's where you start. If your defensive line and offensive line are solid, you can kind of fill in the gaps everywhere else. If you got your quarterback, you got your defensive line and O-line, everything else can kind of flow beyond that. So the Ravens, as we look in free agency now, we see the O-line situation, right, and kind of what they need to do. I anticipate they'll. I'm hoping they bring Ronnie back, and maybe they can add another, maybe veteran guy as a guard or something like that, and then in the draft can build the depth up there. On the defensive side of the ball, you still got Brandon Williams there. Owe, I don't know if he's out of here or not. He did put like some stuff on social media saying, he's not confident that.
Did you say Brandon Williams?
No, Owe. I was saying Owe.
I'm like Brandon Williams. I'm like that last year.
Yeah. No, I was like Adafe Owe.
Yeah.
Put out some stuff that he doesn't feel confident he's going to be. I think this is his last year on his deal, and he'll be a free agent next year. I don't think the Ravens did not pick up his option. I don't think so. I think he doesn't feel confident of bringing him back. So I don't know if they're going to move him in a trade package or something or draft day. We'll see. Ajabo has been lackluster. Nothing really there. Edge rushing wise, maybe you bring Kyle Van Noy back for another spell, but I don't think you can keep relying on that. And the linebacking crew for the Ravens, as they got rid of P. Queen, and I think Malik Harrison played better towards the end of the year. They definitely were missing that second interior linebacker piece. It wasn't as dominant as it was in the year before. On the corners, I think that, with Wiggins, another year with a year under his belt, I think he'll be solid. Brandon Stevens, I don't anticipate them bringing him back unless it's like cheap or something like that with how he played last year. Marlon Humphrey is another one. He's got a big cap number, but the way he played last year was all pro. Like he played at an all pro level last year. So it's going to be really hard for Ravens to just kind of get rid of him. But I think for the Ravens, what the Ravens can do, there's edge rusher situations they can help with, especially free agency and a draft. But I think for the Ravens on the defensive side, they can solve a lot of their stuff in the draft. I think they have enough players, at the top of the line. The first string guys are solid, but adding some depth pieces there will help. As far as edge rushers that are available for the Ravens right now, realistically, they've mentioned Josh Sweat from the Eagles. He's out there right now, but they're projecting him to get a 3-year, $56 million deal. Hassan Reddick is the wild card. Obviously, we saw this stuff that happened, with the Jets this past year. Mm-hmm. He will be a free agent. But before that, he was one of the best edge rushers in the league. So we'll see what happens there. Khalil Mack is going to be a free agent as well. He's not what he was when he was with the Chicago Bears, but he's still a solid edge rusher. And there's some other guys. Preston Smith is going to be out there, who was with the Steelers this past season after the trade deadline. Joey Bosa is also still out there. And then a bunch of other guys that are there. Do you guys think the Ravens actually spend money in free agency for an edge rusher, or do they do their same old thing and they go try to draft one, see if it works this time around? It hasn't worked since the last time they drafted an edge rusher that worked out was Terrell Suggs. That's the last time the production that they've gotten at that spot. That's what it hasn't worked since. Do you think they go sign somebody, pay the money, and get a edge rusher that's that has the stat numbers and everything else like that, or do we just throw it up in the air and see what comes down with the draft?
I mean, I feel like relying on the draft is obviously a crapshoot at this point. I mean, you're picking 27. There may not even be close to the best available. Like I said, if anybody's seen that Super Bowl, those edge rushers might end up flying off the board pretty quick. But I feel like they got to spend some money. I don't think waiting to the draft is the gamble you want to take at that position, just for the fact that that's a position that we need. If you look at the numbers, actually, if you look at the last couple of seasons, I mean, our edge rush has been bailed out by just old veterans, honestly. I mean, Van Noy, what do you have, like 11 sacks last season or something like that? We had Clowney, I think, the year before that, with like 10 sacks, 11 sacks. Like we need somebody, that is a guarantee. Owe definitely had probably his best season the second half of this past season. I mean, he definitely showed up. Unfortunately, it may be a little too late for it to have happened to keep him here. But like you said, Miles, if the last dominant edge rusher we've drafted was Terrell Suggs, those aren't odds that I would want to gamble with. I think they need to go out and get somebody proven. I'm not saying necessarily bring like a Khalil Mack or nothing. I honestly don't know if there's a huge benefit to bring in someone that's older. But like I said, they gotta figure something out. They gotta figure something out. I just don't. Let's just say this. Maybe they can draft one, but me personally, I don't have the confidence that they will draft one that's going to fill the void that we're going to need when whatever guys leave this season. So, pass rush is a big piece, and I think addressing it now rather than later is probably their best bet.
Y'all bugging. Y'all are bugging. Dog, we had 2 pass rushers have 10 plus sacks this past year, and we talking like we got.
I don't care about that. I don't care about
sacks.
that. I don't care about that.
Bro. No,
It's about. I think
the weakness is not at the edge rush. I promise you, it's our interior rush. Namdi had a regressive season. We have nobody on the defensive line that's getting a pass rush outside of Namdi. It's the interior. The interior defensive line was very mediocre when it comes to pushing that pocket. Now, with that said, not Owe. Van Noy is old as hell. And I'm always of the belief that you have to like build your defense through the draft. And even though we've had some misses, we've had some hits. Like Owe is solid. Like he's no Khalil Mack, but he may be more of his ceiling may be a Van Noy, who's going to get you anywhere between 8 to 12 sacks, and may break out for a big campaign. So yeah, I do agree. We need to get another pass rusher, but I think there needs to be some attention paid to the middle of that defensive line and where we're getting a pass rush from for there, because it was the middle. There was no pressure coming up in the middle, and what we saw a lot of teams do to get pressure up the middle and really cause havoc is move some of their guys inside, or they already had some guys in place. You look at the Eagles; they were able to collapse the middle of that pocket pretty often when they weren't getting to the outside. So, I mean, I think there needs to be a focus put there. But there's so many other places we could go that are probably more dire. Like that other corner spot is looking like a big man. It's looking like it's very bleak. It's looking like an episode of Paradise. It's looking very bleak, and it's looking like the end of the world over there. Because Brandon Stevens was one of the worst cornerbacks in the NFL. We're talking pass rating, yards per game given up, receptions per game given up. I think that's probably my 5-alarm panic button is that other cornerback slot on the outside. So that's my thoughts on that.
And I don't think we don't need interior pass rush. I just thought that based on his question, I was just saying because I feel like you can address interior pass rush probably in the draft easier than you can address the edge rusher. So as far as a free agent signing, I just thought that was more dire because I was taking Van Noy out of the equation based on him being 50 years old. But and also Owe possibly not being here. So that was my thinking with that. And interior edge rush, yeah, we definitely need help with the middle of that defensive line for sure. But I have a little bit more confidence that can be addressed in the draft versus the edge rush being addressed in the draft based on what the demand is going to be for those guys.
And I think a big part of with the Ravens the last couple of years, what we've seen, especially last season, not getting takeaways in the playoffs, I think was big. Also situational sacks. Like we saw, how many times have we seen the Ravens the last couple of years, they'll get 2-3 sacks in the first half, and the second half they got nothing. How many sacks are they getting on third and short? Third and long, making those impact plays. I think that's what it matters for the Ravens is getting off the field on third down. They had 3 or 4 sacks in the game, but they all were in the first and second quarter. You get nothing in the third and fourth quarter. So I think about like I said, having that guy, when the Steelers have that guy, TJ Watt, they know when they need a stop in the third or fourth quarter, he can get that. He's gonna get it. He's gonna get the stop. And on top of that, he usually forces fumbles. He strips the ball away from the quarterback or something. So I think that's for the Ravens. We've never doubted they have the talent. The Ravens, I think, have the talent to get it done. It's just a matter of making the splash plays when they need to make them. And we said that before they went into the playoffs that, on the defensive side of the ball, it can't just be Lamar making all the plays the entire game. It's got to be the defense stepping up. We saw it was the Steelers game, Marlon Humphrey getting a pick 6, and then we saw in the Browns game or whatever, Nate Wiggins getting an interception and pick 6. But then all of a sudden the playoffs just didn't see it anymore. I don't know if the Ravens just need to be more aggressive in the secondary. Part of it probably was Hamilton not being able to play in his spot. That probably was a big part of it too, taking him out of that area. So I think for the Ravens, yes, they do need to make some additions, especially edge rusher for sure. And looks at Jair Alexander. I would like to have him, but I know he's been having some injury issues the last couple of years. And then Slay, he may be on the other side, the way he played and stuff. So, I think just for the Ravens, it's more about the situations, right? When you got to have a turnover, you got to have a takeaway. Can you get it? And I think watching the Ravens against the Buffalo Bills, and you saw the Bills get takeaways. The Bills got takeaways when they needed them. Ravens couldn't get them. That was the difference in that game. So I think it's more so about the Ravens, going. I don't know how we talk about this, but going back to those 2000 Ravens mentality with Ed Reed and Suggs and all of them, they practiced that stuff. They're like, if the guys in open field like that, rip the ball away, punch the ball out, do something to get the ball in the air or on the ground and we can 50-50. We can go get a turnover, get our offense back on the field. So I think that's the big part. I think for the Ravens, it's just making some more splash plays and stuff for them. Looking at the draft, they got about 11 picks, right? So Travis and I were saying, based on a lot of the mock drafts and grading guys, it looks like it's maybe about 18, 19 players that are actually graded to be first round picks. So it's like after about the 20th, 21st pick, you may start some teams maybe want to trade up and get a guy that they want. That's on their board. They want to go get this person. But their team's like, we can trade back a little bit, maybe get an extra value in the second and third round and just kind of wait it out. And the Ravens picking at 27, based on this draft, I wouldn't at all be mad, I think, right now if the Ravens just went ahead and if at 27, if there's not a left tackle there or somebody that they need, to fill, a key spot, to go ahead and just trade out the first round and just get that value in day 2.
Yeah, 27. I mean, like you said, it's just going to depend on who's left on the board. I'm sure they're going to go in with, their number one, best available. I think that's usually the method they go is best available no matter the position. If that guy's gone by 27, they're, if their top 3 best availables are not there, I think it probably makes sense to trade back. I wouldn't be mad in this draft if that happened, just based on picking 27. I think we're the last couple of years, haven't we picked mid round, 15, 16,
like
somewhere
17.
around there? 17.
Yeah.
So this is a big jump backwards for us in the draft, and we're pick hoarders anyway, so I wouldn't be surprised if we traded up just to add a couple more, even though we already have, like you said, 11 picks. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they jump back into the second, depending on how they execute. I mean, obviously that remains to be seen, but I am interested to see who's left at 27, based on what our needs are. So it can go either way. I won't be mad at either one, as long as it makes sense.
Yeah, and I think with the strength of the draft being like rounds 2 to 5, I think they should trade back. I honestly do. Unless there's like one of those crazy falls that always happens to the Ravens, and nobody wants a guy, and then he ends up being Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah,
I think that's the only way. Like if that safety from South Carolina drops down to 27, I'm sorry, you gotta get him no matter what. Like that guy's a stud. But otherwise, yeah, you could probably just trade back into the second round, get some extra picks. And I say that from the standpoint of like we have some older guys that are phasing out. We have some young guys who are about to get overpaid when they hit free agency next year. So I think there's opportunity to start rebuilding and retooling in this draft. If we have 11 picks, getting like 2 or 3 more is going to allow us to really build our depth and prepare for the future. Because when you have a quarterback with Lamar, who's probably going to be up for an extension next year or the year after, you have to prepare to pay that money out. So you have to, like I said earlier, retool, like build your defense in the draft, retool, add some more depth pieces. Michael Pierce ain't got too many more years left in that belly. You know what I mean? Like he's going to be out soon. You got to put some depth in the secondary because they're always hurt. You got some of those young corners who haven't worked out are going to be gone. Inside linebacker, like there's some places where we really need to put some effort, and you want to have like some premium picks where the draft is like very has a lot of depth. You want to be able to have those picks there. So I think trading back makes the most sense. I think of any draft, this is the draft to do it.
Yeah, like Corey said, I forgot, Chuck Pagano's back as is it a consultant for the secondary, for the defensive side? I can't remember
No,
which.
he's the guy. He's the guy, I think.
Okay,
I think
he's back in the fold. I think we had some of our best secondary play with him at the helm there. I definitely think he's going to have a say on, defensive back picks, especially in this draft. They still got some guys again, TJ Tampa, who they really didn't see. What happens with him. I said Sanusi Kane as well at safety. So there's going to be some moving around, with positions in the secondary and how they pick. I don't anticipate them, like I said, outside of that safety from South Carolina. I don't really know if the Ravens are going to just go ahead and pick anybody that high with all the other needs that they have. Maybe a third or fourth rounder, but with Chuck Pagano there, I think he maybe can get those guys to that next level, especially guys like Wiggins, get him to the next level, maybe get something out of TJ Tampa, for him this coming season as well. So there's still some ability for the Ravens to go ahead and, get right. When you look at what the Ravens need to get to the Super Bowl with the Bills, trying to beat the Bills, trying to beat the Chiefs. From what I've seen, it hasn't been, as we close this one out, it hasn't been a talent issue. I don't think. Like, I mean, you look at these games, the last couple of years, the Ravens have played against the Bills and the Chiefs and Bengals and Steelers or whoever. The Ravens have had either the best, or if not equal talent to the teams that they played. It's just a lot of times that the situational stuff that, turn the ball over at the wrong time. Mark Andrews not catching the ball for the touchdown. I mean, a 2-point conversion, or fumbling the ball in the middle of the field. The Ravens defense not getting the situational turnovers that they need, the takeaways they need. A lot of it is just that. I don't think the talent for this team is the Ravens got to do a major overhaul in the free agency or the draft. Eric DeCosta, we know how he rolls, and they're going to get best player, best price situation. I don't anticipate the Ravens making any really big splashes in free agency. They'll fill some gaps here and there, with some maybe some depth pieces, but nothing crazy. But I think for the Ravens, just it would be nice maybe to get some players that have a different mentality, especially on defense, that can go after the ball instead of that bend but don't break defense they had last year, and more of that defense they had in 2023. Where they were like led the league in takeaways. They were getting interceptions. They were getting picks and forcing fumbles and stuff like that. If they can kind of get back to that, Lamar Jackson, who's an MVP player. I don't know how much better Lamar can get at this point. Like he's the best player in the NFL. Like I think by leaps and bounds, he's the best player in the NFL. Derrick Henry is one of the best running backs, and I think the Ravens will, was it Kenneth with who's our backup running back that we have? I can't remember his name.
Justice Hill and
Justice
Keaton Mitchell.
Keaton Mitchell, right. And they'll probably add somebody in the draft, I'm pretty sure, as well. And there'll be some undrafted guys at the Ravens, where you always find some gems there as well. So, again, I don't think it's anything crazy the Ravens have to do, but as far as just locking up Ronnie Stanley at left tackle, shoring up that offensive line, and like I think you guys said, an interior pass rush. I think if you get those things situated, I think everything else kind of falls into place for this team.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I agree with what you just said. It's not really, I don't really have too much to add. I just think that, yeah, it's definitely not a panic situation. I mean, we were right there in the mix. We saw how we lost the divisional round playoff game, against the Bills, a team that we were definitely more talented than. We just didn't show up to play, and whether that have been because of the team or whether it could have been due to coaching. I mean, we've had our gripes with how this team has been coached as well, and our team just didn't look, prepared in that last game. Seeing as though how dominant our running game is, the size of their defense, and how all that goes. So, damn, almost went the whole pod without a pause, but but you know how it goes. Like I don't think it's a panic situation either. I think we just kind of had to shore up the things that we know about, and it's just a matter of, like we've been saying earlier. I mean, are we going to be able to address that in free agency, or are we going to be able to address that in the draft? Are we going to be aggressive in this offseason, or are we going to be lackadaisical like we've been in years past? It remains to be seen. Still a lot of time. It's only March. So, hopefully we can take, what we know we can do and just do what we do, but just more effectively with a little bit more talent around us. So hopefully we can find those pieces. Like I said, whether it's free agency, whether it's the draft, who cares? But that organization just has a lot of work to do in general. And I don't think it's much more that the players can do. Obviously, drop passes and crucial plays and fumbles and turnovers is not going to get it done. If you're trying to be a championship team, nobody should know that more than Mark Andrews, but it happened anyway. And we obviously have to move forward, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We got the guys. I think we have the guys. The point is, you can always there's always room to grow. There's always room to get better, because even though we got the guys, those however many teams, those 31 other teams, they're getting new guys as well. So we just got to kind of keep pace and do what we do. But ultimately, hopefully this season our coaches can put us in better positions to not have to work as hard as we do to get wins, because I just feel like it was way too hard to get wins last season. But this is a part of the off season, and I wouldn't say I'm super duper confident at what we're going to do and the changes we're going to make, but whether we make big splashes in off season or little ones, I think that we still have the guys to get it done, because Lamar Jackson is back there. So end of the day, I think we'll be good regardless. It's just a matter of what we're going to do to help.
Yeah. I think there's just a lot. There's a lot to be done. I would love us to be able to, make some very good decisions to shore up this team. I mean, we're not that far away. Ideally, I'm looking at the draft board right now. It looks like there's going to be somebody that slides. And with what we know about the NFL, they're a copycat league. So I feel like in the top 30, there's probably like 10 edge rushers in the top 30 prospects for the draft. And so I'm pretty sure they're going in the top 15. I think we're going to see a big run on edge rushers, especially with the lack of quarterback talent. So, there's opportunity for somebody to slide that may be a best player available. I feel like there's going to be a wide receiver that slides, a defensive tackle that slides, a corner or a safety that slides as I'm looking at this. and that's going to put the Ravens in a good position to get a very talented player, which is what seems to happen all the time with them. But I just wanted to make the best decision. We are not far away. We are not far away. We don't have to overdo it. We just have to hit on some of these holes. And personally, I just think the biggest hole is that other corner spot.
No, yeah, I mean, and I would also like to say, I think the Ravens, I would like them to maybe spend a little bit more effort on like the return game, like kick returner or punt return. I feel like they just throw whoever back there and just kind of hope for the best. I would like to see the Ravens maybe put a little bit more effort into that part of the game, because I mean the 2 years we won Super Bowls, the kick returner punt returner game is crucial to what we do. And with a guy like Lamar, if you have a quarterback like Lamar Jackson and you shorten the field like that, with how explosive they can be on offense, like that X factor could be like paramount for the Ravens. Instead of having them march 80 yards down the field each time, you shorten the field forward 50 yards, 40 yards, whatever. I like to see the Ravens put a little bit more effort into building up that special teams situation there. They did make some coaching changes. We saw, I think, what's his name is still that Chris Horton or whatever is still the special teams coach, even though they've been trashed the last 3-4 years. They haven't been good. But I like to see them a little more effort in the return game for the Ravens. Go find somebody in the draft that can actually return the football and just shorten that field up. I'm tired of Duvernay being back there. Tylan Wallace is iffy. He's due like one a year, right? He's due one a year, but
they might put Duvernay back there again. They might sign him again.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how that plans out. But
Ronald Darby's out there too. I think he's also.
I would like to bring Ronald Darby back. I was mad they got rid of him last year.
How did he play last year?
Did he?
I thought he was hurt most of the year.
I'm not sure, but he's about to be a free agent, if not already.
He played well with us. Yeah.
Jaguars letting him go too.
So
yeah,
we'll see. It's gonna be a lot.
The Jaguars cut Evan Ingram.
Wow. Man, they get rid of everybody, man. They traded
Christian Kirk was 6 catches a game right there. He was 6 or 7 catches a game.
They got rid of Christian Kirk too. They traded him for like a 7th round pick
to the Texans. Yeah, saw that. And Diggs is still hurt, but he's going to be a free agent this year. But torn ACL.
His off the field stuff going on right now.
Off the field, a lot of off the field shenanigans.
A lot of them.
Man. Yeah. So, anything else y'all want to, talk about before we close the pod?
Look, don't be surprised. I'm just going to say this. I forgot to say it earlier. Don't be surprised if we draft a tight end first round, because there's 2 future all-pro tight ends that may slide.
Penn State.
And the guy from Michigan, too. They're both like crazy. Yeah. Copeland, I think. Yeah.
When are they projected to go?
Tyler Warren, I think, is a top 10
15.
pick. I know Tyler Warren's a top 10 pick for sure.
So, I don't even think neither one of those guys might make it to us.
Yeah. Well, if they do the run on edge rushers, there's a possibility.
That's true. Yeah.
It's always something that happens, and it's a guy that slides to the Ravens, so it could happen. Like I feel like we may not get like a need in the first round.
If the league lets one of those tight ends fall to the Ravens, they know they know they're in trouble, right? Like, I think Andrews will be gone
Here's the problem though: the Ravens haven't been able to utilize 2 tight ends at the same time, even though we've had Likely and Andrews.
Yeah, but I think like Copeland.
That's crazy work.
I was trying to hold it together over here, man.
No, but like the Ravens we've been complaining about the last 2 years. The Ravens haven't been able to utilize Andrews and Likely in the same formation. So I'm like, I don't even know if adding another one to that rotation there is just gonna.
It's a little different though. I mean, it's still a different skill set. Like Andrews is he's so good, but he's also so slow. And he's as successful as he is because he's just a phenomenal football player. Like he has tremendous skills that most tight ends don't have naturally. But he's not the fastest tight end. He's not necessarily not necessarily the strongest, but you put one of them young boys in, like we seen what Likely look like. Likely is more of like a finesse tight end. What I say?
When you put those young boys in.
Yo, the young, they need to change that position's name, honestly, because I tried to not even say tight end, and I just said young boys, but I just think one of those guys, one of those gentlemen, esteemed gentlemen, if you put them in instead at the age that they are, I think it's a little bit different. I don't think it would be the same 1-2 punch as we see with Likely and Andrews. I feel like Likely is like a compliment to Andrews. I think if you put one of those guys in, it'll be like a 1-2 punch. It'll be like,
for real, yeah.
I think they'll both hold their own. But
like if you bring like a Tyler Warren and a Likely out there, like both of them can line up in the slot. Like both of them could.
Not that I would rather us pick a tight end. I'd rather us go get DK Metcalf.
A need, yeah.
I'd rather.
Oh, that would be nice. DK Metcalf.
I'd rather that.
They talked about for years. Like Lamar does the best when he throws to taller receivers. Like anybody over 6'2", 6'3", he just it's easy. Like
he hasn't had that, and he hasn't really had that.
All short guys. So it's like he's. We'll see. We'll see how it pans out. But anyway, that's it from us. I think as of right now, we'll do this every 2 weeks unless there's some big free agent news pops up or whatever before the draft, and then once the draft turns around, then we'll do the draft and our pre-draft picks and all that other good stuff. But thanks you guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys later. Peace.